Welcome back to the Royals Review Pod. It's another podcast, the second one this week. As ever, I'm joined by Jimmy. Another away performance for Reading, this time a trip to Barnsley. We come back with just a point after going ahead and conceding to draw 2-2. Jim, give us your overall thoughts on the draw at Barnsley.
How you doing, mate? Yeah, to be honest, first half awful, really slow start to the game. Conceding early on obviously didn't help. But yeah, I think it took us probably 30 minutes at least to sort of really show any glimpse of hope, and even then it wasn't much. Yeah, to be honest, nothing really to report. Even from a Barnsley perspective, they weren't particularly dominant even after they scored. So yeah, going in 1-0 down, perhaps, even though it sounds stupid, perhaps it worked in our favour because Sellers clearly let them know what's good at half time. Because yeah, they came out a completely different side for the second half. We saw Dorset hooked and Garcia introduced, who immediately got stuck in. Equalised in, I think it was around the 50th minute, and then went ahead due to Sam Smith, as we said in the previous pod, overdue some goals from his time out and from all the shots on target that we had in the last match against Peterborough. But yeah, ultimately drew after Barnsley conceded in, I think it was like the 75th minute. But yeah, look, I think a draw's fair. I know that's what you predicted pre-match, and look, you'll take 4 points from Peterborough and Barnsley away, right? You can't complain too much.
Yeah, definitely. It's not too long ago. It's like literally about 2 weeks, 10 days, 2 weeks, where people were saying, well, we'll just never win away from home again. Like, we're terrible away from home. And then we get a point at Stevenage, we beat Peterborough and get a point against Barnsley.
Yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden, we're looking pretty handy, which is nice because it's great to see less negativity on the Reading FC hashtag on any social media platform. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, question. I've just thought of a question. I don't want to put you on too much because I don't even know if I've got an answer it from myself. But that's 5 points from 3 away games after expecting probably the bare minimum, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think Sellers has actually changed? Because if anything, we've had less players to pick from. We've had injuries. Obviously, Smith was out. We had Mbenge missed the last match yesterday. Like, it doesn't really feel like Sellers has actually changed too much. Maybe just sort of chosen. I know he was previously using Akandi as a winger, but he seems to have stuck with Campbell now, who's definitely improving. But yeah, I just wanted to know if you've sort of noticed the change, or what you think could be the reason behind this much better away form.
Yeah, it's a good question, and I haven't necessarily noticed much in terms of formation or anything like that. I mean, someone else that's watching this may have a good answer for that, but I would say the two key things for me are, one is momentum. I think coming off the back of that international break with a month basically of away games, I'd imagine the team are just like, right, let's just grit our teeth and just literally pick up as many points as possible, which is obviously a ridiculous thing to say because no team out there is like, well, let's not pick up any points. But they have just been like getting better and better. And I guess with momentum builds confidence. And also the second thing which adds to the momentum is time. Like, it's so ridiculous. And we've mentioned it loads of times, but like, when you consider the amount of players that have played for Reading that are under the age of 20 or 21 or like whatever, they're all really young. So when you're 16 and you're Garcia, every game is such a massive learning opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So I think like even just having a handful now, well, I'm not even just him specifically, but for a lot of the players, just having a handful of games, playing together, learning a bit more about each other, and just like the men's game, as mental as that sounds, I think we have improved in that, and that's more important away from home when you're going to be coming up against teams that are going to look to sort of be more aggressive, and they won't sit back like they may do if they come to the Madstad to take us on. So I think, yeah, momentum, confidence, and just time. Like, I have no doubt that Ruben Sellers is a genuinely top tier manager, and I think the longer he has, the more he'll achieve with this squad, and I think we are starting to see that. I don't know if you've got anything to add.
Yeah, no, there's some really good points. I agree. Yeah, especially on the sort of momentum point as well. I feel like I've seen quite a lot on social media at the moment, and even just from commentators during the match, saying that this is the sort of time of the season where you can get like a good understanding on where your team might sort of end up come the end of the season. I know we still got a lot of games to play, but I've heard it a lot over the last week or so. And yeah, I guess the players, I'm sure they're also aware of that as well. They're in the spotlight. I mean, I know they're in the spotlight the whole season, but I feel like there's a sort of extra eyes on what's happening right now. So yeah, to pick up 5 points from 3 away games is fantastic, considering what our away form has been like so far this season.
Yeah, for sure. Like, just looking at the results now, the last 7 games, I've picked 7 because that's there is a loss before that, but the last 7 games there's only 1 defeat, which again, when you consider that's Exeter away, Stockport away, which is obviously the defeat, Stevenage away, Peterborough away, and Barnsley away. Again, like, all of those teams, when you read them out, are strong. Like, none of them, they're not like your
sure.
Burtons or your Cambridges, or like, do you know what I mean? The teams that are down the bottom, they're teams that can play football, are quite exciting. Like, the Stockport defeat looked like, I think we can just cross the line through that, to be honest. Like, they were better than us on the day. They have probably the best player in the league playing for them at the moment, and he just ripped us to shreds. Like, it's rubbish, but move on, and we absolutely have.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really good, man. I'm so happy because oh man, it's been bleak for Reading fans away.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. I feel like when we have lost, we've bounced back quite well. Even if we've been completely destroyed, we've seemed to, or the team has seemed to sort of just put that to bed straight away, and move on pretty quickly from it, which is a good, I guess. It's good that they have that sort of mentality, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen to everyone. It's going to happen to everyone. You see it in the Championship as well. But it's about sort of putting that behind you and just cracking on with the next game and grinding out a result.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've only lost consecutive games once this season, and that was when we followed up the Leyton Orient defeat by getting thrashed by Bolton. So I think, that's a little while ago. So lots to be positive about at the moment. Back to Barnsley then. I was quite surprised here, so I'm going to ask you if you were surprised. But Holzman came in to make his league debut for the Royals. Were you surprised at his inclusion? And also, what did you make of his performance on the whole?
Yeah, I was surprised. I, along with pretty much everyone else, I imagine, expected Kanu to be playing after his cameo appearance at the end of the Peterborough game when Mbenge picked up his injury. But yeah, it was Holzman. I thought, it was hard. I don't think the defence played well, to be honest, just in general. They had a lot to deal with. Obviously Craig messed up early. Bindon, I can't remember what you tweet. Did you tweet something earlier about the amount of clearances that he had? I think he cleared most.
Ridiculous.
Dorset obviously was poor and taken off at half time. So it was hard for Holzman. I wouldn't say it was a terrible debut at all, but it was just sort of hard to I guess pick too many positives from it. I'm sure he'll go on to put in some fantastic shifts and will definitely be relied upon throughout the season. But yeah, it was a hard game to sort of get a good understanding on. Sort of, it'd be unfair if I was to judge it just off of that game. But yeah, it was surprising. I thought we would actually see a bit more of Kanu this season. I mean, I know Mbenge and Bindon have been fantastic and are obviously the go-to centre backs. But given how well Carney was playing in the pre-season, you would have thought that he was just the immediate go-to for any sort of defensive replace in terms of centre backs. But yeah, it's obviously not the case, which I guess is encouraging, because if Carnu seems to be playing well in training, it must mean that that Holzman is playing equally as good as well if he's getting opportunities. But yeah, who knows? I guess we might see on the weekend if they switch it around.
Yeah, it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because like Reading are obviously in a position where we don't have, like, we're not blessed with loads of options, which almost means that we can rotate a bit. Like, that doesn't make any sense, I know, but like we don't have an obvious replacement for Mbenge, so we could pick Carnu. He's really inexperienced, or we could, like, we have a few inexperienced guys we can rely on. Do you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I'm very happy for him. I'm always happy to see someone that's come all the way up through the ranks make it all the way to the first team. It's something I think we are very good at as a team, and I think we should be very proud of it. So good on him. The only standout stat I could find for him, and it's not even an overly positive one, but it just goes to show how much Barnsley tried to target him, is he attempted 12 defensive aerials. So they were just lumping the ball at him in the hope that his lack of experience would make a mistake and lead to a goal. Fortunately, it was Craig that made the mistake that led to the goal. But he basically, Holzman basically was in as many defensive aerial duels as the whole Barnsley team combined, which is pretty mental.
Yeah,
yeah, for sure. Now, he's not from Reading, but another homegrown player that we've talked about at length this season, I think we have to give him another shout out here, is our very own Sam Smith, who was at the double, 2 more goals to add to his tally, taking him to 7 league goals for the season for Reading. I mean, what more is there to say about Sam Smith? He's just fantastic, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not even going to spend too long talking about this, because I feel like we mention it every week or every time that he plays. But another fantastic shift from him. Took down everything that was sent his way, brought the wingers into play, and then obviously popped up with 2 crucial goals. What more can you ask for?
Yeah, exactly. Like he's just so good, and I think like he is so vital to this Reading team because of everything he does that we've mentioned time and time again.
Yeah.
But no more importantly than he just scores goals at this level. Like he's scored 7 already. He's well en route to the 20 that you predicted. I think I actually went slightly under, which I'm regretting now, because he scored 7 goals and, well, we've played 16 games. I know he's not played in all of them.
Yeah.
And as a result, Reading are scoring more goals. I put out a tweet earlier today that the way that we're tracking, we'll score 75 goals this season, which is, I think it was the most for like 15 years or something crazy like that. So yeah, long may that continue. I love him to bits. And
you know whether or not you've got this stat at hand, but what's our XG? Are we sort of above it, below it, on target?
We are quite substantially above it. Well, it was weird because that's what I was scrambling for. That's why I kept looking down, because I wanted to find the XG. 20.07 XG so far in the league this season, and we've scored 26 goals. So we're essentially 6 goals above, which I would guess, and it will take me 3 seconds to find this out on whoscore.com, we'll probably be the league's top overperformers. No, we're not quite. Wycombe are overperforming by 7.24, and we're overperforming by just under 6. I'll give you 1 second to guess why we're such big overperformers.
My time's up already.
Time's up. It's a certain man named Lewis Wing who just takes it upon himself to score from 40 yards quite frequently.
Okay, is that the reason why?
Yeah, it's essentially because a lot of Reading's goals come from outside of the box,
fair enough.
Which means that per goal, the XG of that shot is really low.
Yeah. Okay.
So
it's weird
that's
because it kind of feels like Wing is not having the sort of season that he was having. I know he's scored arguably, a lot of people's probably best goal that they've ever seen at the SCL this season. But yeah, compared to last season, it doesn't feel like he's getting as many shots off, let alone scoring as many. But I guess he's still making them count.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I pinpointed Lewis Wing. It isn't actually just down to him, but it is the fact that we're shooting more from outside of the box or from crazy situations. If you look at our XG per shot, this is getting a little bit nerdy now, so please don't turn off if you've got this far and think we're going to continue this chat, because we won't. But we have the fourth worst, or worst is not the right word, fourth lowest XG per shot, which with 0.1. So it just goes to show, like, a lot of the shots we take are not very likely to go in, and have been. So, I mean, I don't care what it is as long as they're scoring.
Yeah, more shots, more goals. I'm down for that. I don't know if you also saw Harley Dean's interview on Under the Kosh podcast, is it?
Yeah.
I hope I got that right. He was basically talking about Sellers and and he was saying the amount of shots that we get in this system is just, crazy. We get a lot more than we ever have done before. Now that the players are sort of used to the system and how it's set up. So I guess, being on track to score 75 goals this season and, scoring a lot more doesn't really come as a surprise after hearing that sort of insight.
Yeah, for sure. Ranked 7th for shots, 211 shots we've had. But even if you look back at last week, and now I was talking about how much more shots we're having away from home. I mean, Harley Dean knows a lot more than I do, but we are definitely having more shots, which will ultimately lead to more goals. There's not much of a science there.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything else really to cover from the Barnsley game, unless you have anything, Jim.
I've got one more thing. It's got to be said. Joel Pereira in goal. He kept us. He kept us in it. Barnsley, they'll be kicking themselves that they didn't go in with a bigger scoreline at half time and didn't score more. I guess he pulled off some fantastic saves, and I think he had as good a shift as Sam Smith did.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's so good.
I also think the ref missed a lot of, he was getting pulled all over the place, which probably made him look a little bit less assured. But yeah, I thought Pereira was fantastic. I know we've mentioned it before. It just puts so much confidence in the side when you've got a keeper that can do stuff like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. He's actually Reading's third highest rated player this season, which just goes to show how important he is being. Last thing on Barnsley then, I don't know if anyone or even you, Jim, read my little preview for the Tylehurst end, but I said my one game prediction is Reading will definitely score because they're pretty good going forward. I predicted a score draw. I did go for 1-1, so not quite right, but pretty close. And I predicted the player who will be the most important would be Joel Pereira. So, I mean, not terrible. I'm pretty chuffed with that. And of course, you predicted Sam Smith would score a brace in the last pod, which is a ridiculous shout, but was proven correct. So, fair play. Moving on to the FA Cup now, then, we won't spend too much time because I have absolutely no idea on what to expect from Harborough Town. And that's absolutely no disrespect. I haven't read up on them at all as yet. I've still got plenty of time before the game to do so. But let's just quickly chat about the question that a lot of people are probably thinking. What do Reading do? Do they go strong? Do they rest everyone for obviously a December that's going to be jam-packed with fixtures? Or do they really push for it because, we could face a strong Premier League side at home or away in the next round? What do you reckon?
Somewhere in the middle. I don't think they need to play a full strength side. Obviously, we've got a game on Tuesday, which I'd say is much more important. But I don't think fielding, just a squad of academy players, although that would probably be, most of our our usual 11 is the way forward. I think, yeah, somewhere in the middle. It'd be good to, I think, give the sort of backbone of the team a rest. Bindon, wing. I think Elliott and Savage and Nibs. Yeah, maybe play Nibs. Wareham, Camera, Akandi. I think there's definitely, they could definitely field a side that gives a lot of players that would start on Tuesday a much needed weekend off, or at least have them on the bench.
Yeah, I think bench is probably a good shout, isn't it? But I saw Wing did an interview. I can't remember if it must have been before the Barnsley game, where he was just like, Premier League players just cannot moan. Like, if there's a game that Reading are in, I want to play. Like, I don't care if we play more or less. Like, I want to be playing for this team. Like, that's my job, and I'm up for it. So, I mean, if he's fit, I imagine he's going to want to play.
Yeah.
I do agree with you, though. I think, like, let's just go down the middle, win the game, move on to the third round. Of which, as I say, if we can land like a Man United or Arsenal at home, would obviously be a huge money spinner for the club. So I don't think it's to be sniffed at qualifying for the third round. And
of course,
as I say, no disrespect, but we should beat Harborough Town. Let's be.
You'd hope so. Honest. You'd hope so, but they're bringing a lot of fans. They're going to be well up for it, and I mean, I don't think it could be that there's not too much different in terms of the teams that are fielded if we go with a lot of youngsters and players that haven't played too much in the first team. But we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's one to look forward to. Sunday, obviously, get down to the SCL if you are around, because as Jim said, Harborough bring lots of fans. Let's not be outnumbered on our own patch. Best of luck to Reading. Thanks very much to everyone who's joined us. Thanks again to you, Jim. I'll catch you next time. Come on, you are.